Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my third BookTube Spin video. Actually, technically, this is my second BookTube Spin video. I will link my first down below, but I'm going chronologically by what the creator of this BookTube tradition is doing. This is the third time he's doing this. This is the brainchild of Rick McDonnell, or I actually think it's something that he brought over from book blogging, but he's the one who originated it on BookTube, so I'm giving credit where credit is due. So the BookTube Spin is an idea for diversifying your reading list, or perhaps getting to something that you've been putting off. And he suggests making a reading list of 20 books of various themes, and listing them out. And then on predetermined dates, he will do a spinny thing, as I call it, and basically spin a digital wheel of 1 to 20. And then the number he lands on is the book that each of us will read who's partaking in this. Of course, the books will be different based on each person and what we put in that numerical spot. I wasn't intending to do this video until later this month because going by Rick's schedule, we had May and June to read our book number 2, and then in late July he would announce the next spin for August and September reading. But I think he got confused and did it a little bit early, a few weeks ago in fact. I'll link to his videos down below. And in fact, he chose 2 books this time because he was, basically giving us an extra month to read. I'm only going to pick 1 book because I already have enough on my reading plate as it is, and technically I haven't even started my BookTube Spin number 2 book yet, About the Night by Anat Tashir, which I'm intending to start in the next couple of weeks. But in fact, although I have no way to prove this, hopefully I just have good trust on this channel, I made my third list, or second technically list, a couple of months ago. So I had all of my numbers chosen before I watched Rick's latest videos, so I did not, stack my numbers in any way to get the result that I wanted. At the end of this video, I'll share which numbers Rick spun and which of those 2 I will be going on with for BookTube Spin number 3. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and share my list. So here we go. So my first 5 titles are Jewish fiction titles. I had a list like this in my last video too, but these are all new books. We Were the Lucky Ones by Georgia Hunter is a Holocaust book about a family that ends up scattering to the winds due to the events of the Holocaust for survival, and I think we track them throughout the war and see if they'll come together again at the end. Strangers in Budapest by Jessica Keener takes place in Budapest shortly after the fall of communism. An American family moves there, and then they get embroiled in drama regarding a neighbor, an elderly man who was a Jewish World War II veteran who helped to free Hungarian Jews from a Nazi prison camp. And I believe he is on a vengeful mission, and they get embroiled in some of that. The Magnificent Esme Wells by Adrian Sharp takes place in World War II and post-World War II in Hollywood and Las Vegas, and it is about this young girl, Esme Wells, who is involved in the Jewish communities of Hollywood and then gangster Vegas. We Are Gathered by Jamie Wiseman, I think is a kind of uplifting, fun, kind of rom-com-y almost book, I guess, about a Jewish wedding in the modern day. And finally, The Calculus of Change by Jesse Hilb is Jewish YA. I know that I heard about this book on the Jewish Book Council site, so some Judaism has to be involved in here somewhere. But generally speaking, this book is about a girl in her senior year of high school, Aiden, who is going through grief. I think she lost her mother, and perhaps somebody who will, uplift her spirits a little bit is a new classmate called Tate. And he does have a yarmulke on his head, so there's some Jewish content right there. Okay, next I'm moving on to my general fiction list, and only one book has made it from my last list onto this one, and it is Love Marriage by Vivi Ganeshanathan. I listened to her on the Fiction Nonfiction podcast, and this is the novel that she has written. This is a novel that I think takes part mostly in Toronto with a young woman who is called there to care for a dying uncle. And this dying uncle was formerly a militant member of the Tamil Tigers in Sri Lanka. So we're going into family drama and a bit of history of Sri Lanka. This Could Hurt by Julian Medoff is a workplace book. And I believe we are following several characters who are all colleagues in an HR capacity at their work, and talking a bit about their professional aspirations and their personal lives as well. Olive Again by Elizabeth Strout is a sequel of sorts, or a companion novel or a collection of stories to her first book, Olive Kitteridge, which followed a dour woman of a Maine town around, and also other people of that town, but Olive was definitely the main character. It made a bit of a splash and was even turned into an HBO miniseries, so I guess Strout felt like she could return to Olive and her neighbors and their stories. So I liked the first book, the characterization, so I thought I would love to go back to this. Then there's Happiness by Aminata Forna, which I heard about a couple of years ago through the BookTube Prize. And this book made it very high up on the list, I think making it on a really high up space on the finals list even. And it takes place in the UK, where an American who is studying urban foxes and a Ghanaian who is a psychiatrist cross paths, and their lives intersect in interesting ways after that. And finally we have The Most Fun We Ever Had by Claire Lombardo, which is one of those multi-generational novels that I am really drawn to, although I believe it's only 2 generations technically, but it spans over several years, and you get to know the parents of the family, and then you get to know their kids as they grow up, and get various viewpoints about, relationships and who people are to one another and what they believe. So this is really my cup of tea. Okay, now we're going into a new section. Well, sorta, not really. I kind of put science fiction and fantasy together in one section last time, and I have separated them this time. But a few of these books definitely were on my list last time, including Provenance by Anne Leckie, Ancestral Night by Elizabeth Bear, and Tomorrow's Kin by Nancy Kress. The first 2 books, Provenance and Ancestral Night, and also Dark Orbit by Carolyn Ives, all take place in the darkness of space, and they involve characters going off on adventures to study alien lands or alien artifacts or aliens themselves. And then, in a mirror image of that, in Tomorrow's Kin, the aliens come to us and come to Earth. And it's good timing, I guess, because a virus is descending and we work together to solve it. And I'm pretty sure I made a COVID joke in there the last time I talked about this book. And then finally we have Martians Abroad by Carrie Vaughn, which is YA science fiction, which I find exciting because YA tends to veer more toward fantasy. But this one is science fiction. And the main character is a young girl who lives on Mars and dreams of a future of spacefaring, but she ends up being sent to Earth, the one place she doesn't want to visit, alas. Okay, and finally, I just talked about this, about splitting science fiction and fantasy, so here is my fantasy section. And you can see a bunch of my tastes just coming up right by the names of the books here. We have a lot of kingdoms and queens and that sort of thing. Sort of royal politics tend to speak to me a fair bit in epic fantasy land. So that's what I am hoping to get with titles such as The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. I also, am interested in N.K. Jemisin because I loved her Broken Earth trilogy. Then there's The Unwilling by Kelly Braffett, which I believe also goes into similar issues, and I believe has a little more of a violent edge, perhaps at least that's what I hear from some of the cover copy that sticks out a bit. But I first heard about this through Liberty Hardy on the All the Books podcast, and I just remember that I was very intrigued by her take, so I put it on my TBR. As for The Vanished Queen by Elizabeth Campbell, I actually don't remember where I heard of this exactly, but it was on my list, and it certainly, sounds similar to the other books, so I'm in for it. Then there's A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozloff, which has an interesting origin story in that Kozloff wrote all 4 books of her series together, and they all dropped the same year. And that's very unusual in the fantasy world, especially for a debut author, but apparently she was able to sell a publisher on this, so that's worth investigating on its own. And finally, we have All the King's Traitors by Keelan Rivers, who is an author tuber. So that's very exciting. She's part of our community. She is an independent published author, and her book takes us a little bit away from just the world of courtly politics, and it deals a lot more broadly with a society of different types of people, and there's more of a focus on gods too, so I'm excited for that. I like seeing how gods make their way into fantasy fiction. Okay, and if you haven't watched Rick's videos, I will spoil for you that he rolled book number 2 and then book number 20. My book number 2, as I mentioned, is Strangers in Budapest by Jessica Keener, which is on my Jewish fiction list. So I decided not to go with it because I'm already reading something from my last Jewish fiction list for this BookTube Spin. Whereas my book number 20 is All the King's Traitors by Keelan Rivers off of my fantasy list. So I'm diversifying things a bit with this spinny process. And added bonus, I already own the book, so I feel extra incentive to actually get around to reading it. So I'm very excited for this. I'm hoping I'll really enjoy it. I'll love to give a, local author tuber some boost. Although I'm not exactly sure if or when she will be continuing with this series. I remember around a year ago it seemed like book number 2 was about to come out, but now it seems like that's on hold a bit, so alas. I don't know, maybe it'll be okay then if I don't like this so much, if I'll never, get to continue the series, but I guess I can't help but hope for the best here. So that about covers it for me now. I will leave the Goodreads links for all the books in my BookTube Spin list down below. I will be back on this channel on my birthday, in fact, on the 15th, to do another of my venerated TBR traditions, my page 112 tag, which again looks at my owned books, and I randomly choose 3 titles from them and then read page 112 from each and choose the one I will be adding to this month's TBR based off of the writing on that page. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Hope everyone who participated in the BookTube Spin is also looking forward to the 1 or 2 books they will be reading in the next few months. And I will see you next time.